All right, folks, we're here with soccer specialist Adam, AB. We got AB on the show, finally on the pod.
Long time listener, first time caller. How's it going?
Everybody loves saying that. And you are on today because you are our soccer specialist. And there is a big tournament upcoming. We got Euro 2021 right. What? It's not 2021, 2020? My producer's telling me it's 2020. What?
It
What?
is 2020. Euro 2020 in 2021.
I'm confused already. Why didn't they just make this 2020? 2021.
It's a lot of branding to redo. A lot of a lot, a lot of
This
promotional material.
this would be like the World Series in like 1919 being canceled, and then the one in 1920 being like, yeah, let's make it. Let's just push them all back a year. This was all right. We're off to a hot start here, but thank God the producer caught that one pretty quickly. So, Adam, we're gonna talk some. We're gonna talk some Euro 2020 here. Obviously, the tournament delayed because of COVID, but we're gonna go through all the groups. We're gonna talk about teams to watch for, players to watch for, dark horse teams, and then your pick to win. Group A. We're going to start with Group A that has, as you see, representing the Italia, representing with the jersey. We got Italy leading off the tournament against, is it Turkey?
Yep, they're playing. They're leading off against Turkey next Friday. I believe it's the first game of the tournament.
Right.
So that should be a good one. I actually expect. I kind of predict a draw for that one. I think Turkey's a really good team. I think player for player, Italy's obviously better, but I think Turkey can surprise a couple people in this group. Yeah, no, like they have a few big players. They're big three, we'll call them. They have a contingent from Lille who just upset PSG to win the French league title.
Right.
So they have the right back Celik, Yazici, a striker who scored 7 goals, including a hat trick, I think, against Milan in the Europa League, and Burak Yilmaz, who scored 16 goals at the age of 35. So they're strong at striker, and they have a really strong center back core with Demiral from Juve, Soyuncu, who's a really good young center back from Leicester, and Ozan Kabak, who was on loan at Liverpool
Did you
this
say
past winter.
35 years old? That's
30.
a little old, no?
Yeah, he would have been the young boy in the tournament if Zlatan was still playing at a spry 40 years of age.
Wow. That is this is a lot more turkey talk than I expected. Now, we got Italy in this division. I don't want to make this an Italian pod, but seeing as I'm not really a soccer guy, Italian soccer slipped for a while. Are they on their way back? Do we have any young stars on the way? Do you see anything in the future for Italy?
I think the future is very bright for Italy. The 3 key players that I actually had written down are all 24 and under. So I have Federico Chiesa, who plays on Juve. He's a right winger, but he's phenomenal player. He's got speed. He's got the technical ability. He's got a good mind for the game, and most importantly, he's a big game player. So I think the knock for the Italian team, and we'll get to it when we talk about the strikers, is how they don't really show up in the big games. But every time Chiesa played a big game for Juve, whether it was in the league against Inter or Milan when he scored 2 goals, or in Europe, he's always produced. And I think that's something that Italy's missed lately. Obviously, alongside him, we have Gigio Donnarumma, who's the former goalie of AC Milan, currently without a team, but he was phenomenal in the Italian league season. He kept 14 clean sheets, and he's at 22, one of the 5 best goalies in the world, and he's on his way to being the best goalie in the world. And then in the midfield, we have, I think the midfield's actually one of Italy's strengths, where they have Verratti, who's a name that we all know, Jorginho, fresh off a Champions League final win, and Nicolo Barella, who's one of the key pieces at Inter, who just won the Scudetto in Italy. And a lot of fans that aren't really too tuned in might not know who he is, but he's a midfielder that can really do anything. He's, a box-to-box guy, technical ability, plays with a bit of an edge. He's everything you want from a midfielder, really. And he's one of the guys that I think can fit into almost any starting 11 in Europe. So he's phenomenal.
Okay, so we got Wales and Switzerland. Anything you want to say about those 2 teams?
They have a couple key players like Wales obviously has Gareth Bale, who's
Gareth,
a big name, and Aaron Ramsey, who's been riddled with injury
Ramsey.
at Juve.
Yeah. Hmm.
They have a young center back, Ampadu, who's on loan at I think he played at Sheffield or a Division Two Premier League team, and he's on loan from Chelsea, and he's someone that you might want to watch. He might make an impact and break out this tournament. And then I guess if we want to go to Switzerland, we can talk about a couple of guys on the back end specifically. Mbabu, who's a right back at Wolfsburg,
Hmm.
and Akanji, who's a center back. He plays for Dortmund. But those are probably the two of the better talents on those teams.
Yeah, we don't really have to talk about these teams very much, but doesn't Switzerland have Shaqiri? Isn't Shaqiri another guy that they or is he not playing anymore? I just know him
He
from
he is,
from
yeah.
FIFA.
I think he's still on the team, but I think he's not. He's on the back nine of his career. I don't think he's what
Okay.
he
That,
used to be.
okay, so Group B, we've got a team that inspired a rant from me saying, Belgium and Belgium's golden era of soccer. And if you want to go listen to my rant about golden eras and career seasons, check out our pod. But talk to us about this division. So we got Belgium, who's I believe ranked number one in the world, and has some key players. But I think they might be missing some guys, right?
Yeah. So Kevin De Bruyne, he fractured a few bones in his face in the Champions League final. So it's unclear whether or not he's going to be able to play at all in this tournament. And that leads to, I guess, one of the guys that I think is going to be important for this team and probably someone that you're going to want to keep your eyes on, and that's Yuri Tielemans. He's a 24-year-old midfielder from Leicester, and
Yeah.
he's been linked to Liverpool pretty heavily in the past couple weeks. He's a phenomenal player again, like great modern midfielder, good with the ball at his feet. He's a great playmaker. He likes to take long shots, and he's going to really have to step up on this team if Belgium's going to have a chance to make a run. Obviously, when we're talking about Belgium, you have your Mertens and you have your
Merchants, yeah.
Hazard, like those names of
Right.
a few years ago. Like Hazard hasn't really been the Hazard at Chelsea since he's been at Madrid. He's been
I've
hurt quite a bit.
I've heard that Lukaku's having a great year. Actually, I believe
Lu,
was it with Inter. No, was he
Lu,
Inter?
Lukaku, yeah, he's I was gonna get to him. He
Oh,
is the probably without De Bruyne, he's probably the best player on this team. He scored 30
really?
30 goals in
Wow.
all competitions. He won the Serie A MVP this season. He won the Scudetto with Inter. He's a phenomenal player, fantastic player.
Right.
Under under Antonio Conte, he's been terrific, terrific,
Okay.
and
So, yeah.
probably one of the best three, maybe number nines in the world.
Really, that is a
Yeah.
little shocking to me. He was in England and was a little underwhelming, but good for Inter. Good for Inter. We got Russia, Denmark, Finland. Anything to add from those three countries? Anything that you see?
Um, I have Denmark finishing second in that group. Just a couple guys that I know of or I'm familiar with because they played in Italy. Simon Kier, who's he was probably I don't know one of the five best center backs in Italy last season. Um, Came from Atalanta to Milan, and he was really really fantastic since he joined, and was a really key part in their success over the past year and a half. And Christian Eriksen,
Right. Yeah.
who was regarded as a world class midfielder when he was at Tottenham.
Hmm.
He didn't really start as well as he wanted to at Inter, but he went from, I think, Conte trying to sell him in January to being one of the key pieces to Inter's Scudetto run for the second half of the season. So it's funny how sports works.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Group C. So we got the Dutch, obviously a perennial team that's always around, and then Ukraine. Is there anything you want to talk about this division? Because I'm looking at
Yeah.
Austria and North Macedonia, and I'm like, I don't know about these guys. But is there something that you want to talk about in these with this division?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about Netherlands, you obviously the first name that comes to your mind is Frankie De Jong. He's one of their key pieces with Van Dijk, who's going to be out for this tournament. Um, yeah, we'll get to him in a bit, but I mean, De Jong's one of those deep lying playmakers, but he likes to get up a little bit too, and he's going to be really key pulling the strings for them. I think they actually have a really good midfield three with him. Wijnaldum, who played
Why
for
not?
Liverpool
Yeah.
last season, and
Yeah.
Martin de Roon, who plays for Atalanta. And I think those three guys work really well together, and they can be pretty dangerous. And I think when you're talking about center backs, obviously you can't really replace what you lose by not having Van Dijk, right? He's one of the best players in the world, period.
Yeah. Yeah. He
But
is.
I think if anyone's equipped to weather a loss like that, I think it's the Netherlands, because to replace him, they have two world-class center backs waiting in the wings. They have Stefan de Vrij, who again played for Inter,
Hmm.
phenomenal center back, and they have Matthijs de Ligt, who's I think 22.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal.
He's a Juve guy, no? Delict?
Yeah, generational, like unicorn type center back. He's unbelievable.
Wow, that's
Unbelievable.
that's amazing. You know what's also amazing is that I know all these guys just because of FIFA. I went on a huge FIFA run and I hearing all these names and I'm like, yeah, I know that name, I know that name.
I had that guy in manager mode. He was on my he had a cup of coffee at the organization.
No, bro, come on. It's all about Ultimate Team, but I'm not talking about it right here. Uh, Ukraine, Austria, North Macedonia. Now, I would love to see North Macedonia becomes like the dark horse of this. Is there any chance that they are a dark horse?
There is no chance for North
Oh,
Macedonia. Sorry to crush your dreams, but I think there is a bit of a chance for Ukraine. I think Ukraine can do a little bit here. I actually have them coming out of the group in second, and they have a couple of good players um, that may not get the notoriety, but they have Zinchenko, who's a left back at City, played a lot of games for City. They obviously won the Premier League, made it to the Champions League final, and I hate to go back to it again, but they have another guy that played in Italy who is fantastic. He's not a young player, but he, I guess, is a late bloomer. Ruslan Malinovsky. He plays for Atalanta, and he was the guy that replaced Papu Gomez when he transferred to Sevilla. And I think since March, um, Malinovsky scored 6 goals and had 9 assists in 11 games. So that's a phenomenal output. And keep an eye out for him to have a bit of an impact here, especially early on. And then Austria, we have a couple guys. We have David Alaba, obviously
Alaba,
phenomenal
yeah.
world class player, joining Madrid next season, and Marcel Sabitzer, who's another great midfielder that plays for Leipzig.
Isn't it
Probably
weird?
on probably on your ultimate team.
Isn't Alaba like a Bayern Munich guy?
His contract ran out. He's signed for
Okay.
Madrid, but
Okay.
he's
I have no
he's
idea how that
great.
works. I don't get how that works at all. But uh my question about the Ukraine is A, Andrei Shevchenko playing or B, coaching?
He is B coaching.
Is he? That's amazing. I was gonna say that'd be an ep. When I think of Ukrainian soccer, I think of Andrei Shevchenko, and
He
maybe it's the Milan in me. Maybe that could be it. He was one of my favorites.
Hey, you know what? He's doing a really great job with that team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a shot at the Milan job sooner or later.
Does he still have great flow?
He does.
Oh God, I'm
Great head of hair, that guy.
so jealous. All right, on to the next Group D. One of my favorites. We got England. I like England. I'm an England guy. I really like Croatia. I've always been. I was telling you off air. Ever since Davos Suker in '98, there was something about this Croatian team that I liked. They were kind of like an underdog, and we got Scotland in check. What do you have in this division?
I think England's got a really exciting team. I think this could be the start of a golden generation for the three Lions. If I'm being completely honest, I think all around the field they're pretty good. I think their weaknesses are goalkeeper and center back, because you have your Maguires and your John Stones. I would have
Right.
liked to see them call up Tamori, but maybe that's just a Milan fan in me. He had a great stretch there with us, but I think in terms of young talent, they have it all. You have um, Harry Kane, obviously, who's
Right.
not young, but he's fantastic. You have Sancho on the right, who's
Right.
great. You
Yeah.
have a couple of academy graduates, Foden from City, Reece James, um, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden. It's a great generation for England, and I think if they get the draws right, they can make a really deep run in this tournament. I think. Sorry, I forgot to say Mason Mount and their 17-year-old center midfielder Jude Bellingham, who scored. I think he was the youngest ever player to score in a Champions League knockout game for Dortmund.
Mason Mount is from Chelsea.
Chelsea. Yeah.
Oh my God, that Ultimate Team's keeping me relevant. Okay, Croatia. Like, you have
Oh,
anything on
sorry. Hold
Croatia?
on.
Oh, we got
Wait,
more on
one more
England.
thing I wanted to add on England. Sorry. I think they called up a lot of fullbacks and they called up, I think the center backs that they called up can give them a lot of versatility in the way they line up. So I think typically they go a four at the back, they'll play a 4-3-3, but the players that they call up can potentially allow them to shift into a three at the back, so like a 3-4-3, a three five
Right.
two. Because
I've
you
al-
have,
yeah,
sorry,
I've always felt England doesn't dive enough to be good at soccer. They're almost too rough and they're too honest. I've had a theory about this for a long time. That's why they never win. They never dive. They don't dive enough. They've got like a little bit of Canadian hockey player in them. That's
they're
how I
too
feel.
much sandpaper, too
Oh,
much.
they are. Oh, the EPL. They used to be like UFC. Okay, Croatia, a team that one of my favorites. Used to be one of my favorites, actually. You see anything from Croatia? This was the World Cup finalist from 2 to 3 years ago.
Um, I don't want to disappoint you. I don't think they can replicate their success from 2 years ago, but I mean, a couple of the usual suspects are still relevant. They're still protagonists. So you have Modric, obviously. I think he's 35 now, but he's
Yeah,
still
he's
really good, and he's a absolute class player. You have Brozovic, who played for Inter, and he's one of the guys that made that team go as well with Barella. And then you have Ante Rebic from Milan, who scored a ton of goals in the second half of the season, including a phenomenal goal against Juve.
Mhm.
If you want to go look that up, it was great.
No.
And I guess their weaknesses are at goalkeeper and center back. They have a couple of their older center backs. I think Dejan Lovren and the other one escapes me. Oh, Vida.
Vida, right?
So
Yes.
they were two of the guys that were sort of on the back nine in 2018, and they're, I guess, 3 years older now. So we'll see if they can make a run here.
Is Rakitic gone? Is he retired from international?
I'm not sure. Um,
I liked him and Modric. I've always admired good midfielders, especially central midfielders that can control play. Zidane
so
was always one of my favorites.
Rakitic did not get called up.
Oh wow, that's you know what? You think he would have got the legacy call, but that's interesting. Okay, well that's enough Croatian talk. I don't need any more from that. Scotland and Czech. Anything to add? Any quick points on them?
Just a couple players on Scotland. You have Andy Robertson, the left back from Liverpool,
Yeah, yeah.
and Scott McTominay, who plays midfield for United. And then Czech Republic, we have a center mid from West Ham, Souček, who's actually on the short list of 6 or 7 guys for the Premier League Player of the Season. So that's someone to watch out for sure.
Okay, now we've got the penultimate division before we go into the group of death, which I'm excited to talk about. We got the Spanish division. We got Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. Obviously, Spain's one of the powers of, football, so we'll start with them. What do you see for Spain?
I This is actually the first time ever in the history of Spain that no Real Madrid players were called up for the team.
Wow.
So there are no Real Madrid players on this Spain team. But other than that, it's an exciting generation of young Spanish players. You have Marcos Llorente, who's a midfielder from Atletico. You have Rodri, who plays for City. He's 25, 26. He was a really key part of their team this year. Pedri, an exciting 18-year-old sort of attacking midfielder from Barca. And I think that's where the strength of this Spain team is. It's in the midfield with, names like Thiago, Busquets, Koke, Marcos
Right.
Llorente, Rodri, even like Fabian Ruiz. Like they're from top to bottom in the midfield. They're class.
Do you think they have enough though to be like a serious contender in this tournament? Or are they kind
I
of like just past their prime, a little bit too far past?
Honestly, they have a couple of guys. I think they have a good mix. It obviously depends on how the group shakes out. Like I don't think this Spain team is as talented as, the team that went on to win the 2 Euros and the
No.
World Cup. But I
No,
think no, yeah,
they're
you're
never
gonna
going
be
to repeat that. That was like a once in a
no
lifetime.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, that run.
like they're not. I don't think they're that good, but I have them. I don't want to spoil it, but I think they have what it takes to make a
Hey,
little bit of a run here.
don't spoil it then. We got the other three teams. Anything you want to add for Sweden, Spain, Poland, and Slovakia?
So I think when you look at this group and you look at Poland and you think Lewandowski,
Right.
you would think, yeah, they're going to go through, right? I think that Sweden is going to finish in second place in this group.
Hey, that's
I
nothing wrong with that.
I think that they had serious potential to make sort of an underdog run, but without Ibrahimovic, he's out with a knee injury. That goes down a bit, but they still have a lot of talented players. They have a young striker from Real Sociedad, Ishak, who's 22 years old. He scored 17 goals last season. He's a great player, and they have Dejan Kulusevski, who's a midfielder from Juve. He didn't really get off to the hottest start under Pirlo, but he sort of started to come on at the end of the season. And then you have a couple veterans like Forsberg, who plays for Leipzig, and then Lindelof, who's a starting center back at United. So they have a couple guys to make a run. Like having Ibra would have maybe put them over, but I think they still have enough to finish second in this group. And then
I hear the name Forsberg. He should have played hockey. I don't want any soccer Forsbergs. I don't want any of that. Like if I was his father, I'd be like, bro, you're playing hockey. I can't. I don't want to hear any more about Sweden.
Synonymous.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say every time I hear the name, I think of a Colorado Avalanche jersey.
Right,
So
like it's just.
I don't blame you.
He's one of my favorites. Slovakia has Hamšík still. Is he still around? I liked Hamšík back when he played in Italy, right? Correct. He played for
Napoli for a long time. I think he's still
there. We go.
He still plays. I think he plays in the Swedish Premier League or the first division in Sweden, whatever that is, that's called.
Let's move on to Group F, the group of death.
Wait,
you got more?
We got Poland. We forgot about Poland.
You said Lewandowski. You said they're not going through. Who else you got?
I didn't say they're not going through. I said they're not going to finish second. We'll get to the format after. They got I want to. I have 4 players that I want to talk about.
Szczesny from Poland.
Quick, man, quick.
Szczesny, yes, he's the goalie for Juve.
Goalie for Juve, great goalie. He had a little bit of a down season, but the talent's still there. You have another guy from Italy, Piotr Zielinski, center mid from Napoli. He's another one of those box-to-box, super technical, fantastic player. Great eye for goal as well. And then you have, obviously, Robert Lewandowski. He broke Gerd Muller's Bundesliga scoring record, 41 goals this season. And, I don't think we have to talk much about him other than he's the best.
He's really good. He's like the best. Yeah. Okay. Now, what everybody's been waiting for, the group of death and the team that everybody's looking at, Hungary, baby. Hungary is the team to win this group for sure, correct? Am I right?
You might be. I don't think so, though. I don't think so, though.
They might be in tough here because the perennial team that's always in the group of death, and I feel we're supposed to hate them as Italian fans. I like Portugal. I don't know. I've always liked Cristiano Ronaldo. Every Portuguese person I've met, I've liked. Like Italians and Portuguese are not supposed to. I'm like, I like all these Portuguese. What's everybody saying? But I like
Portugal. The players too.
They're nice. We got Portugal in here in the toughest group with France and of course the soccer factory known as Germany. Here we go. You take control. Say what you got to say about this group.
Okay. So I have France winning this group. I don't think that's too much of a surprise to anyone. Obviously, you have. Their spine is phenomenal. We have Benzema leading the line. You have Mbappe up there too. Conte, who's again fantastic player. He won, I think, 5 consecutive Player of the Match awards in the Champions League, like the quarters, the semis, and the finals. So I don't think we have to say much about those 3. They say, they speak for themselves.
I'd love to add something about Benzema. Is it not? I feel like he's had almost like a resurgence where I thought he went to Real to almost like his career to die. Because I don't think he was playing very much, right? He was either when they had Cristiano there.
So he wasn't playing much at all for the France team. Like he was playing for Madrid, but for this France team, this is his first call up since 2015. So he wasn't a part of the World Cup team. Giroud was the starting striker on that team.
Right, he
So
was. That's correct.
Giroud's still there now, but he's had a ridiculous year. He scored 30 goals in all competitions, and he's really like
Yeah.
their talisman. Like big games, he's the one that they're relying on.
I feel like I saw his career and I'm like, I see this going off a cliff, and he's just come back to just be a dominant force. So
He's a fine wine. He's in the
oh man, and I know there were some issues with it. We're not going to talk about it, but I think he had some issues too with the France team. And before you go on with France, I want to ask this: is this like the new? Because I feel like they have tons of players coming. Is this the new like powerhouse of soccer?
tons. Dude, they're the players that weren't called up. You could make a team out of those guys, and they would probably be better than almost every other team in the tournament other than France. Like the guys that they left off were like
Yeah.
would
It's like,
start for most of these teams.
is it like Canada and Canada 2 in hockey? Like where
Yeah,
Canada 2 would be like the second best team in the world?
yeah, almost. Like the
Wow.
notable omissions that they had Theo
He
Hernandez.
didn't make the team, but
He didn't make the team.
I've heard
He,
mixed reviews about him. That
you know what though? You can't really. I think with these tournaments, you have to prioritize the group. Like if you don't have the group and you're not united because it's such a short time
yeah.
and you don't have enough chemistry, it's hard to be really successful. So
You,
I think
you got to be
this,
a good hang. Like if you can go to a cottage with that person, then you can make I think that's one thing that's not talked about enough is that you got to be a good hang.
the
That's why
hangability.
they talked about it in the 92 Dream Team. Why they didn't that was one of the reasons they didn't invite Isaiah Thomas. He wasn't a good hang. They didn't want to hang out with him, those guys. It was a business. It wasn't even a business trip for them. It was anyway, we're off
Oh,
topic.
that's
I'm the worst at
absolutely
this.
because the tournament's what, a month, and Hernandez hasn't ever been called up for France. I think he can actually play for another team. There was another guy, a center back from Spain, Laporte, who's actually
Right.
French, but
Yeah.
he's never been called up for France. So he switched to Spain, and he's on the Euro team for Spain.
And he plays in England, correct?
He plays in England for Manchester City. Correct.
There it is. I got it. I'm fucking killing it today. Oops, dropped an F-bomb already. Okay, so France is basically, are they going to be as dominant as they were in 2018? Because that was a dominant run.
I think so. Like, I mean,
Wow.
if you want to go back to like these guys that weren't called up, like Upamecano, who's moving to I think Bayern for 50 million euros, Konate, another center back who's moving for 40 plus million euros to Liverpool, Camavinga, a 17-year-old like phenomenon, Alwar, who's had a really good season in France. Like all these guys that haven't been called up to France could make 99% of other teams.
Why is this? Like, why has France become this dominant force?
Development. They're so deep everywhere.
Wow. Okay, so I think we're going to talk about them more as we talk about the basically the teams to watch for.
Yeah.
Give me something for Germany and Portugal because I know you're high on Portugal.
Yeah, I really like Portugal. I think one of their strengths is their midfield and their attack. So you obviously have Bruno Fernandes. You have Renato Sanchez, who had a big Euro in 2016, I think, and then he sort of struggled as he was, you know, linked to a big move to Bayern. He went to Bayern, didn't really do well. He's been on a couple loan spells, but he's had a really resurgent season at Lille. And then you have obviously Ronaldo. Again, not much needs to be said about Ronaldo.
Yeah, is he good
A
at
lot of
soccer? I don't know.
a lot of people like criticize the way he was playing this year for Juve, but he still scored, I think, 20 something goals. He led the Serie A in scoring, even at not having a good season. So he's obviously one to watch for. And then you have Andre Silva, who's another young forward for Portugal. He scored 29 goals in Germany this season, which is a lot. And aside from those guys, you have your Joao Felix, Bernardo Silva, Gonzalo Guedes. Like they have, again, what it takes to make a really deep run. And I think they have a really good team. Even their fullbacks are good, like Cancelo, phenomenal fullback, and Guerrero from Dortmund. This guy's great. I think with the same thing with the other team with Croatia, I think their center backs are a little bit older. A couple of them, they have Pepe and Jose Font, who are a little bit older, but Ruben Diaz, who's their like talismanic center back. He was the best defender in England this season again for City, and they should have they should be good.
Okay, and the last team, the football factory of Germany. So I'm thinking you might not have Germany advancing
I do have them advancing.
as a wild card.
But yeah, one of the wild cards. I think
Okay.
Germany is always fantastic. Like their midfield three, you have Kimmich, Goretzka, and Tony Kroos. So Kimmich and Goretzka play in the double pivot in Bayern together, and then when you add Kroos in there, it's one of, if not the best midfield in the world. And then they're really good at goalie. You have Neuer and Ter Stegen. I think they're good going forward too. Like you have Gnabry, you have Muller, you have Werner, you have Havertz. Like you have all those guys going forward, and I think it's a really good attack. But I'm not sure it's better than Portugal's attack, and I'm not sure it's better than France's attack. So it's still good, but it would finish first place in a lot of other groups, but just because it's this group.
I don't know how, but if I had to, I don't know much about Portugal, but I would say that Germany and France are the two best teams. Somehow they end up in the same division. How did that happen?
The luck of the draw.
My word. Okay, so we've gone through all the divisions. Now we've got a couple of what you think's going to happen, but give me your division winners from all of them and second place. So we got in Group A. Who do you have winning the Group A?
So I have Italy winning Group A. I have Turkey coming in second.
Mm-hmm.
In Group B, I have Belgium winning, Denmark coming in second.
Yep.
In Group C, I have Netherlands coming in first, Ukraine coming in second.
Right.
Group D, I have England coming in first, Croatia runners up. Group E, I have Spain and Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And Group F, I have France and Portugal.
Which would leave how many wild cards?
There are 4 wild cards, so my wild cards.
Holy! Why don't they just advance everybody?
I don't know. They might as well.
My word.
So my wild cards are Austria, Scotland, Poland, and Germany.
Wow. That's a little shocking to me. Okay, so I guess it'd be really hard to do like the bracket from here, but of these teams, what do you think for the final? It'd be really hard to pick the final, but give me who you think is going to be in the finals. Give me basically your two best.
I got France and Portugal meeting up again in the finals.
Wow, that would be like LSU and Alabama like 10 years ago when they got with the playoff. That would be remarkable. I wouldn't be surprised if two teams from that division met in the finals. Okay, and I'm a big underdog guy. Like I like seeing a little underdog every once in a while. Who is a dark horse that maybe nobody's talking about that might shock some people? It's not going to win, but maybe they'll get to the Elite Eight.
I think that's Sweden. I think the way I did one of the bracket on the Euro website, and the way it kind of shook out was Sweden playing Croatia in the quarters, or sorry, in the round of 16, and then playing France in the quarters. I mean, I don't think they can beat France, but the ball's round, one game, anything can happen. So
right,
I think I got Sweden on one side and then Turkey on the other side.
Wow, the Turkish. I like it. And this looks a little wide open here. The last thing I want to ask for. So Mbappe basically popped onto the scene at, I believe it was the 2018 World Cup. Like he kind of announced that was basically his coming out party. Give me a couple young kids that might pop, they're going to just blow us away.
I think the first one, we got to start in Italy with Chiesa.
Really, eh?
I think I've been so wrong about Chiesa. I didn't think he was good enough to warrant the 50 million fee that Juve spent for him, but this year he has been unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, he's one that I want to watch. Even Yuri Tielemans, like a lot of people who follow soccer will kind of know who he is, but I think he might, push to be a household name this summer. And then I think Netherlands with De Ligt. He's a young center back. I feel like a lot of people know him, but he's not quite a household name yet. But I think he's gonna fill. Obviously, it's tough to fill Van Dijk's shoes, but I think he'll do a nice job slotting in there.
Okay,
And then, wait, hold on.
We got another one.
I would be remiss to not talk about this young generation of England players. I have a bunch from England there. I have Phil Foden from City, Mason Mount from Chelsea, Reece James from Chelsea, and Jude Bellingham from Borussia Dortmund.
They just don't sound like the sexy names, though.
They play like it though.
Okay, in soccer we have like the Golden Boot, right?
Yeah.
What are the awards at the end of soccer? We have the best goalkeeper.
Yeah.
That's basically a team award, though. Let's be honest. Whoever has the least amount of goals against.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so give me like the award winners. Who do you think's gonna win?
So Golden Boot, I think I'm gonna go with Benzema.
Benzema. Okay, that's interesting.
I think France. I have them pegged to win.
Yeah, I guess if they're gonna go far, yeah.
Yeah, you got to have someone that's gonna go deep. For best goalkeeper, I might go with one of the German goalkeepers, maybe Ter Stegen. I have them making the semis. I think Ter Stegen's obviously one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I think he's gonna show a lot this tournament. Best defender, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good defenders. You know what? I'm gonna go with De Ligt.
Again,
De Ligt best defender.
You're going all in on that kid.
He is a unicorn, man.
We've got a De Ligt fan club here. We've got the president of the De Ligt fan club. Okay.
I am the furthest thing from a Juve fan, but De Ligt is such a joy to watch, man. He's
young.
Great.
23.
He's young. And then what's the other one? Best midfielder?
Sure. Just give me the best. Yeah, who cares if there's no award for it? Just give it to me.
We're gonna go best midfielder, Bruno Fernandes from
Bruno Fernandes. Attaboy. I couldn't help but notice you said Germany's gonna be in the semis. So you think 3 teams from the group of death are gonna be in the semis?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I have a very chalky bracket.
Is it? Yeah, it seems very chalkish. I mean, just from your picks. And there's going to be a surprise. There's going to be a surprise somewhere. This is a very college basketball ACC. Duke in North Carolina ended up late though with this.
I feel like I'm going to throw this bracket out in the garbage maybe Saturday. It's good until Saturday.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. At least we're going to get a tournament. I hope you've got your games booked off because I've already booked off the 2 Italy games. So I'm going to make sure that I'll be off for those.
Weeks in advance. I've had them booked off for weeks.
Attaboy. Okay. If you like this pod, if you like the content, smash the like, smash the subscribe. I want to thank Adam. Thank you, AB, coming on, giving us your time. And I love it. This was great content. I hope people stayed to the end. We went a little long, but that's what we do on this pod.
A little long-winded, but whatever. Well, we get passionate about Euro, so it's good.
Yeah, don't say we. You get passionate. Actually, that's not true.
You were fired up.
Yeah,
you were fired up.
International soccer. Again, look, I'm wearing the jersey. International soccer, I love, and club soccer, I hate. I'll watch a Champions League, but club soccer, no, thank you. They're not playing for anything. There's no playoffs. Get out of here.
International soccer's vibes. It's all about the vibes.
Bro, if you like international soccer all day, if you told me club soccer or Ted Lasso, I'm watching Ted Lasso. So that's where we are on soccer on this pod. But it's great to have you. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll get you back again. I feel like TJ from the challenge. We'll see you. We'll get you back on and we'll do this again.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.